This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Abbi and Cheree, episode 65. Does your teen have an anxious attachment style in their relationships?
Abby, I wanted us to talk about this on the podcast because I have honestly been coaching so many girls in particular lately that are in relationships or trying or breaking up or have broken up or go back and forth with breaking up with a boy that's just a very unhealthy relationship. And I'm noticing one thing in common with all these girls that I'm coaching, and I don't know how much you know about the attachment styles. Like there's an anxious attachment style and avoidant attachment style and then a secure. And we always want to go for the secure. But most of us tend to lean to either having an anxious attachment style or an avoidant. And the goal is secure, right? And some people just do have a secure attachment style, which is so healthy. But these girls that have a lot of anxious attachment styles, it's been really fascinating and really helpful or really good to work with them. And I would say that I probably lean more towards the anxious attachment, especially in my teen years. So I can relate to these girls. Often when you have more of an anxious attachment style, you tend to go with any boy, or it could be a boy that has it with and girls, but I'm going to use the girl term here, is that you tend to go for anyone that shows you attention and
Yeah.
time, right? Like it's just like you so desperately want someone to love you that you're willing to go out with anyone or have a relationship with anyone. It doesn't matter how they treat you or how many red flags. If they're showing you attention, you're going to lean that way. And that's the thing that we want to be really concerned that's concerning about anxious attachment styles is because people with an anxious attachment style do tend to get in very unhealthy, I would say almost like could be abusive relationships because of that. And so I thought it would be really good to talk about that here. And I want to just start with parents understanding why this happens, because so often as parents, we believe we did something wrong. Like we failed as a parent if our daughter or our son is dating someone that it's not a healthy relationship. We must not have taught them well. We must have um, not been clear enough, or we must have not had the right rules. And so we kind of make it be about us. And
Mhm.
I want you as a parent, if you have a son or a daughter that has more of that anxious attachment style and doesn't necessarily have healthy relationships, to stop making it about you. That's just right
Mhm.
off the bat, stop making it about you. Because because I know like my parents were amazing parents and they taught me so much and they had a very healthy relationship. They do. So it wasn't anything from them that I became anxious. Um, what I have found a lot though is it is something from our childhood that can trigger that. For me, I lost two siblings as a young teenage, well, as a 10-year-old and as a 17-year-old. I lost sisters at both those ages. And so I think it is just that. And one of them, my parents were gone a lot because she had a brain tumor and they were at the hospital a lot. And I think I just created a little bit of abandonment, anxious issues there, which has been mine to work through. But it didn't have anything to do with my parents. So I'm just inviting all of you parents, like, don't make it about you.
And I would say that from my own personal experience and then girls that I've coached with, that first love experience, that first relationship is really vital in this because that's where I had my first kind of crush, dating, love experience was always so nice to me at first, and then it really fades away. And so that then, teaches, oh, that's how boys are, right? That's how I thought, oh, that's how boys are. They really like you at first, but then when you're like, I like you back, they don't like you anymore, right? So you have to do all these things to keep them interested, right? Or just that first kind of experience. So kind of monitor that as a parent of, if my youth got their heart crushed the first time, that might really influence how they go into future relationships versus, oh, you know what? They had a very, sweet kind of first experience. And then they both mutually were like, we're still friends. We're going to walk away. And it was a more, it's still breakup stuck no matter what, but it was still more of a normal kind of parting of ways. That too might help influence their future relationships to be more of that secure attachment. So I am always aware as a coach, like, ooh, they had a really bad first boyfriend experience, right? That is going to kind of shape their brain into, oh, this is what I should expect in a relationship. And we have to unlearn a lot of that.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up because I think that is huge too. I feel like it has a lot to do with those early experiences, right? Whether it be with loss in your family, whether it be from your first love. I also see this, and I'm not trying to pick on dads or moms, but a lot of times the relationship they have with the opposite sex as a parent, like how did that parent show up in their life? You know, for girls, was their dad present? Did they have to like beg for his love and his attention, or did he freely like show up for them and vice versa?
I have seen actually, it's a cute trend on social media, but actually it's really grounded in some awesome parenting. But it's that trend where a dad, it's on usually the dad's account and it shows them taking like their 3-year-old to like Disneyland or to a tea party or them playing Barbies with their 3-year-old. And they're like, I'm playing with my daughter, so she's not impressed with your, or like, I'm taking my daughter to Disneyland, so she's not impressed with your $10 bundle of roses. Or, it's kind of this funny joke, but it's actually so true of if that dad has shown a daughter how a male should respond to a woman of um you should expect a boy to open your door. You should expect a boy to bring you flowers or I expect your date to come in and meet me. All those things send a message to your daughter that they are valued and respected and of high worth. And so as dads, if you're a dad listening to this, build up those micro patterns of, you know, I open the door for my daughters. I make sure my sons, how you show your sons how to treat a daughter. Your
Mm,
girls are watching, right?
yeah.
So if I've taught my sons, hey, you open their door and you go to the door and you meet their parents, your daughters are going to go, "Oh, that's what a young man should do when he comes to my house," right? So there's all these micro habits we can establish at the home.
Yes, absolutely. I love everything you said. And it's just that consistently showing up. It's the constant relationship. It's not okay, I'm doing a whole lot for you as a parent, and then I'm going to back off and, I'm so busy with
Mhm.
work and everything else. And then your child kind of starts to feel like they have to do something to earn your attention or love. And I think that's where we as parents can do a little bit better. But again, I don't want parents to make it about them. I want them to be aware. I want you parents to be aware of this. These are some of the ways anxious attachment come about. Um, then once we recognize, okay, my child does have more of this anxious attachment style. They are willing to keep throwing themselves at this boy. We're going to use this term still with girls, because for like they'll do anything to get his attention, and he can be a real jerk to her, and it can really hurt feelings, and she can be in tears, and she can be a total mess. And then next week he shows her attention, and she's right back at him.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think it's really important that we as parents really watch our narrative and how we react to our daughter with that. A lot of these girls I'm coaching, they're like, my mom just doesn't understand. She just thinks I'm so stupid for going back to him. And why am I doing this? And that's what we tend to do as parents. Like, why are you going with them? You deserve better. And we say all these things. And that's not what your child needs or your daughter needs. They actually need your love and that you're safe with them because they're still trying to win this other person's love, right? They
Mhm.
have an anxious attachment style. They need to have a secure one with you. And that's not you telling them that they're doing it wrong or why do they keep putting themselves in this position or they're being ridiculous and I know we as parents just don't want to see them up on the floor in a pile of tears again. We don't want to see them get hurt. We see their value and their worth, and we don't. But we have to understand this is coming from a place where when you have an anxious attachment, your whole body and your brain feel like there's such a it's the security, it's the survival. There we go. Survival of the brain trying to keep you safe. And so it feels like you're in this life or death situation if you don't get this love and attention from this
Mhm.
boy. So it's not logical. It's not logical at all. It's very emotional and very
Almost physical. Like
it
it's that
is.
physical response to your
It
body.
does
Like,
have a physical and it really is their body their nervous system is very dysregulated and so their body is going to show up, their emotions are going to show up and it's not logical. So being like you're so stupid or why are you falling for this or you're worth more, that logic is not going to work in this setting. And so I think it's really important as parents to just be open and understanding and be like, help me understand this. Like this, and this must be really hard for you. And I'm so sorry that you're hurting. And then help them like ask them a lot of questions like, well, what do you want to do? Or how do you feel about it when he treats you this way? Or what do you want to do differently? Or how can I help support you so you don't go back to him again? Like, what do you need most from me? And I think that's the parents, instead of making it about us, instead of telling them that they're doing it wrong, asking, how can I help you? How can I support you? What do you like about this relationship? What don't you like about this relationship? What red flags do you see? And you're asking your teen, how can I help you when these red flags come up? Because I know it's going to feel so safe for you to just go back to him. Your whole body and mind and emotional body are going to want to go back to him. How can I help you so that you don't go back to him? And then I just really think that sometimes as parents, we don't have all the tools, and that's where we hire a life coach for our teen or go to a counselor or someone that can really help them with it because it isn't like this just black and white cut and dry, like this is what your teen needs. They probably are going to need a lot of support through the process of this breakup.
And a tool that I use um, for, clients that are going through this and with our adult brains, we're like, this is so clear to me. Like, he is bad news, girl. Like, just break up with him, right? Like, that's what our adult brain is screaming. And I can't tell you how many times as a coach I'm sitting there going, this is so silly. Like, break up with him, right? Like, in my head.
Yep. Yep.
But I love to use the tool of modeling. And with in a judgment-free zone, I'm like, can I tell you about when I had a boyfriend do something similar? Or let me tell you about this high school boyfriend, right? Or let me tell you about this experience. And I think as a parent, that's really powerful. I also think this is why, too, it's so great to have siblings because you get to watch them and go, oh, that's not normal, right? Or that's not cool. Um, I especially think it's really powerful when you see the right example of a relationship. And so, using things like, oh, I just loved that I'm making this up on the spot, so it's not making a lot of sense, but I just thought it was so cool that your sister's boyfriend, he brought her flowers to her, volleyball game. That was so cool, right? And what your youth, maybe, you want this younger daughter who's got the weird boyfriend that you just don't like. It's sending her the message of, oh, that's normal and expected, right? That's cool. That's what I want, right? Versus maybe always modeling and showing examples of the bad, but saying, "Oh, I saw that this boyfriend had come and done this and this and this," right? Or, "Oh, look how easy they made this," right? And just showing those good examples of what a healthy relationship looks like and also sharing your stories of yeah, I've been there too. And here's the silly things I've done to get a boy back, right? Here are some of the dumb things I've done. And they can make their own choices then from those stories and modeling that we've shared.
I love it. It's so true. That modeling really is so important. It really is how you show up as a parent, how you handle things, you're teaching them what to look for and what they want instead of what they don't want. Just a couple of last few things to just think about is really helping. Sometimes your teens aren't ready to see that there's red flags. They just really aren't. It's like what Abby said when we're like, as a life coach, we're like, ah, this is horrible, right?
Yes, and we do that. I
We
think parents
do.
are like, do they see
We
how bad this?
do.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do. We do.
Yeah. And so that's where you start to ask them questions like future, like, okay, so tell, like, what do you think is going to happen? Like really help them see like how this is going to play out down the road. And a lot of times I use the analogy of, okay, I just want you to think for a minute. You have a little girl, you have a daughter, you're like, it's 20 years from now, you have a daughter, she's a teenager or whatever, 30 years, and she has a boyfriend just like yours. What do you want to tell her? And it's interesting the wisdom that comes out when they can see it from like, okay, if my daughter's being treated this way,
Or their best friend. I'll do that too.
or
I'm
their
like, what if
best
your
friend,
best friend is doing
mhm,
this? What do you
then
do?
they can start to see like, oh my gosh, like I actually don't like this for somebody else. And then I'm like, okay, but so why is it okay for you? And it's just little things like that that start to help them start to see. Or, just one I coached last week and she, keeps going back to the same guy and then she has regrets. And, she'll text him and he'll show her all this attention and then she has regrets because then he ghosts her forever. And I just have her like, before you text him, I just want you to think like, Are you going to like this decision? Are you going to like this decision of texting him tonight at midnight? Are you going to like it tomorrow? Are you going to like it next week? Are you going to like it a month from now? And like really go ahead to look and say, okay, I don't want to have any regrets. And there's just so many things we can do to help these teens get out of this anxious attachment style. But lastly, parents, be their secure place. We've talked about this so much of being, that parent that they can ask anything to, or that safe place where they can hold space. Be their secure place where they don't have to prove that they're lovable to you, because they need that from you so that they can help navigate relationships moving forward, that they're lovable no matter what. And they
Mm,
don't need to prove their worth or their value. They don't need to beg for love, that they can start to feel really secure in themselves and
and
really,
feel adored.
yeah, and feel adored. I love that. And I think that's so important. And from, going from an anxious attachment style teenager, and even honestly, for several years of my life, and I'm finally getting to where I'm feeling more secure. And sometimes I tend to go back to the anxious attachment style, but I've done the work and it feels so much better to be secure, and it's so much healthier for all my relationships. And I look back in how my anxious attachment style did affect a lot of relationships. And I'm sorry about that, but I also know that I'm moving forward into the secure attachment, and it feels so much better. So this was kind of a heavy topic today, but I really hope that it will help one of you out there, because I'm seeing it a lot. And so if you're one of those parents that has a teen daughter that's in an unhealthy relationship, there is a way to help her out of this.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching, or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow, or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.